Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I hope you guys brought your cups and are thirsty because we have to talk about the Rootbeer Les Paul Standard today. So first off, what is a Les Paul Standard? Well, it's essentially what came out in 1958 through 1960, even though they weren't technically called a standard yet. They just got nicknamed the Burst. And it wasn't until the early 70s when the title Standard finally got put on a Les Paul that had humbuckers in it and looked like this, evolving from the Deluxe. But it's basically an affordable production line guitar that looks kind of like the historic Bursts. However, they're not custom shop. They have a Nashville-style bridge instead of an ABR1. They have a short neck tenon instead of long neck tenon. Some of the top carves are different. The whole shape of the headstock is a little bit different. And you might have a Les Paul Standard and think it's awesome. And why would you need a custom shop one? Once you actually touch and feel a custom shop guitar, that's when you realize, there really is something to that custom shop. But the golden era for production run Les Paul Standards is the late 90s to early 2000s. It's because they had really quality wood stock. I've actually had some really crazily nice ones with flamed mahogany backs as well as a quilty back. Sometimes you'll also find some figuring to your neck as well. That's not something you normally find on mahogany. On top of that, they had beautiful plus tops available, and they had some great colors as well as some new ones. The top three that always stand out to me are this one, Rootbeer, and then the other two that you either love them or you hate them, Gecko Burst and Latte Cream. Now, of those three, Rootbeer was actually popular, so people would buy these, and Gibson continued to produce this finish, I think well until 2014 or so. That's nearly a 10-year run for this finish. But Gecko Burst and Latte Cream, they kind of just got booted out the door after just a few years, but because of that, they're highly collectible yet today. I would definitely love to document one of those finishes. But the next topic here is chambering. Now, you either like chambering or you don't. Personally, I was always told to hate chambering, and I had a 2017 standard that had significant weight relief, and it sounded terrible. I'm starting to think there is something, wrong with the pickups in that guitar, because I actually enjoyed this one. That's pretty much the reason why I bought it, is because I wanted to give one of these chambered standards a try, as well as document this finish. But what chambering means is they take the mahogany body, they route it out here, they have a little area right here for your strap button that's still solid, and then they kind of route it out right here, so it looks like this. That makes the guitar lighter in weight. Some people say it affects the tone, and it does to an extent, but most people just prefer the solid body ones. So if you're in that camp, it's October 2006. That's when they started this whole chambering thing. So you're going to have to look at your serial number, the second, third, and fifth digit, and see if it's around October or before that if you're purchasing one of these online. But once 2007 hit, all the standards were chambered then. So it's up to personal preference whether you would rather have the chambered one for lighter weight or if you would prefer the true solid body guitar, even though those still have 9-hole weight relief, because that started in '83. One final discussion here, because this is the first video that I've talked about a Les Paul Standard since the original collection came out for 2019. How do these things compare? Would I suggest getting a brand new 2019 or getting one of these used? Because really, they're not that different in price. The new 2019s, they are amazing. They kind of look like historic guitars, and if you like those finish options, I personally view them as superior guitars. However, there's something about the early 2000s ones that's just really homely. Usually they're a little bit worn in, so you don't have to be scared to do that first dent or scratch or anything. Again, you can find some interesting finishes and interesting tops. So there really is a place for both of these on the used market. Let's go ahead and throw this one on the workbench and take a deeper look at its parts. Pop the tab and here we go. So pickups are burst buckers in here, the Rhythm Pro in the neck, as well as the Lead Pro in the bridge. And our readings within the circuit, 8.06 at the bridge, and then the neck pickup a little less than that, 7.5, and in the middle for fun, about 3.9. But here's something I really like about the 2000s era standards and stuff. They actually have a bunch of stuff written in here. So RO, I'm assuming that was meant to be a B or something for Rootbeer finish. And inside here it tells you what model you have. Now that's not Les Paul Standard Plus Top. That S is actually a 5. So that's Les Paul 50s neck plus top. Because you can also find them with a 6 when they have a 60s neck. Now, just because you have a 50s neck on this one, that's not like R7 big chunky baseball bat. That just refers to how rounded it is. As far as the bridge and tailpiece go, it's pretty standard stuff here. It just says PW. Then the tailpiece was actually replaced on this one for a lightweight, I'm assuming aluminum tailpiece. That's definitely not stock. They have a 3-way toggle switch as normal, and this is what they consider a plus top. Now, this isn't like the flamiest thing in the world, but the color kind of subdues it at the same time. I kind of like this one because you've got the wood grain underneath on top of all the flame, so this is a good one for a lover of plain as well as flame tops. But it is 2-piece, and you can see the maple top in the cavity as well. And that sits on top of a chambered mahogany body. Moving on to the neck, mahogany like normal, and a rosewood fretboard. Not too much more to say about this one, except for you do have some light fret wear in this area if you're interested in being the next owner of it. And then the face of the headstock. It'll just have a blank truss rod cover. It doesn't read standard in this era. Just as a fun fact, this is what Gibson actually tries to copy. You'll notice that the headstocks look slightly similar between that and other fake copies. The difference here is you actually have the real mother of pearl, and that's just not a white decal as sometimes those will have. But the tuners have been replaced on this model to double ring Clusen style. You get a 1.7-inch nut width, which increases to 2.09 at the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.87. And that increases to 1 at the 12th, with your regular 24 3/4 inch scale length. The knobs on this particular one have been replaced in favor of speed knobs. You can see there's some internal cracking there. They still stay on nice and tight though. Originally this would have had something that looked very similar but was more in the bell shape. And this was not drilled for a pickguard at the factory, so there's no pickguard included or anything. But just in case you're curious to see what it would look like, I got a slightly yellowish looking cream one here. I honestly think it would look pretty good. It's kind of like a root beer float. Moving on to the back here, nothing too crazy in the control cavity. You just have Gibson branded pots with ceramic capacitors and your 3-way toggle switch. And I know Gibson doesn't do cream back plates very often, but it just seems so weird to me that everything else, including the side jack plate, is cream, and then the back plastics are black. But as is common with these, you got a small crack right there and there, just from over tightening. You got regular Gibson style strap buttons, and one up top here. And it's a beautiful 2-piece mahogany back. They really did have nice wood in this era. And the thing with the neck here, you kind of have to appreciate this in person. There is a little bit of flame figuring to this mahogany neck here. It's quite gorgeous. It's subtle though, and I kind of like that. So the tuners, as we were talking about, they've been replaced with Schaller Deluxe style. That's what that S stands for. And the serial number, 2008, 150th day of the year, first batch, 351st in production. And with the chambered mahogany body, only 7 pounds, 11.9 ounces. So let's go ahead and plug it in and hear how it sounds. My final thoughts on this Rootbeer Les Paul Standard. I actually had a great time playing this one. I thought the tone was nice. The color, it's a little bit weird. I mean, you've got Rootbeer on the front, right? And then you've got red on the back. It's kind of a weird, almost clash, but not a clash at the same time. I'm just glad they didn't do black or anything. If you need a lighter weight guitar, I would definitely suggest checking out one of these chambered Les Paul standards. If you're interested in being the next owner of this one, I'm going to go ahead and review the condition now. Face of the headstock here, you've got some scratches and nicks and dings. I mean, it's nothing too crazy. I mean, it looks like some stand marks along the edges that kind of left some dings. And you've got some light impressions in the finish, but no breaks, cracks, or repairs. As we saw on the workbench, you've got a little bit of fret wear, but it's nothing that I noticed needed addressed right away. Fretboard was just cleaned and conditioned, your frets were polished. And the face of the guitar, it's just got some scratches here. Nothing too extreme. Really, the condition of this thing is pretty clean. I don't have too much to go over here. Again, the knobs have been changed. There's some internal cracking to them. But original burst bucker pickups and Nashville style bridge with replaced tailpiece that's lightweight. Tuners have been changed to a similar style except for double ring, probably just because somebody liked the look out of. I love those on 70s and 80s instruments. But some light impressions on the neck. And I think the only area of wear on this guitar that's like significant is on the back here. If you get it in the light just right here there's some buckle worming marks, but you just kind of have to catch it like that to see it. So it's definitely lovingly taken care of. Beautiful back. Same thing going around the sides here, just some light impressions. So if you're looking for a fairly clean one, but has enough wear that you don't have to be scared to play it, I think this would definitely suit your needs. Let's go ahead and look under Blacklight. All right, so we can see some sweat absorption right here because somebody plays it like that quite often. Thankfully, you don't see the discoloration in regular lighting though. So everything looks good here on the top. The edges are looking about the way I would expect to see. Not quite sure what this is. It looks like some sort of a marker. Maybe somebody taped a set list to the back of this or something, and that reacted with the finish. Other than that, just some sweat absorption right here. And the back of the neck, yeah, it looks like you got some stand rash back here. You could also see it a little bit down here. But thankfully, no breaks, cracks, or repairs. Everything's looking good here. This one comes in an error correct Gibson USA case. It's got that black Tolex on the outside. You got some chips and some scuffs, as these usually do, but it's in good shape. All latches are present and functioning. Looks like the combo lock is set to 000. Handle's still good and going. You're all good here. The interior is also a charcoal gray. You've got good heel support, double neck rest, no case candy or anything, but that's the case. If you think you might be interested in being the next owner of this Rootbeer Les Paul Standard, feel free to check out that link in the description, which will take you to the Reverb for sale page. Thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.